back, y'all. So today we'll be talking about the Sig MCX, or for you modern warfare lovers, it's the M13. Very revolutionary firearm. Is it revolutionary enough, though? That's the question. So these came out several years ago. There's been several generations. This is an earlier one. It's not a Virtus. You can tell because it has key mod on the Handguard versus M-Lock, and also the has a lightweight profile barrel, which the later ones have heavier barrels. So this one is a factory SPR. It's got an 11.5-inch barrel, and the original, the older style folding stock that has a bit of a cheek riser built into it. I'm going to talk about that here in a minute, but getting right into it. So think of this as basically the top half being an AR-180 or AR-18 and the bottom half being an AR. It's like two came together and had a baby. Pretty forward thinking on Sig's part. So right off the bat, we'll go tip to butt like Flannel Daddy does, and talk about this. So the flash pressure, it's not the factory one. It's similar. The factory flash suppressor that came on it is a 3-prong, built to accommodate Sig's proprietary suppressor mounting platform. I don't have a Sig suppressor, so I put on a dead air chemo flash hider 3-prong. Works pretty good for flash suppressing. Moving forward, as I said, you got a 11.5-inch lightweight profile barrel. Accuracy wise, this thing's about a 1 to 1.5 MOA gun, even as short as it is, which guess what? The barrel length really doesn't determine accuracy. It's just, natural mechanical accuracy. Talking about the handguard. So if you look closely, yes, I painted it, but the handguard is designed to be easily changed out. Pretty awesome. You got these 2 Torx heads on the older style. They revised this with the Virtus and whatnot, later generations. But you can take this off. Like if you wanted to put a longer barrel on it, you could get a longer handguard if you wanted to, or switch it out altogether. The top rail is monolithic, meaning it's all one piece up to about right here, right past the gas block, which means, essentially you could change the handguard out. If you had like a IR laser that you want to keep 0, you can mount it up to about here, and you can change the handguards and whatnot out, and it wouldn't change to 0. Changing the barrel probably would, but whatever. You also have a adjustable gas block. It's a 2 position, and it's marked for which position. It's pretty easy to click over. Works pretty well. It's easier on the later models like the Virtus, but it's still not that bad. So getting into the meat of the gun, when I say it's like a AR-180 and an AR-15, got together and had a baby, it really is. So top half of the gun is very AR-180 like. So you've got your bolt carrier group that this is where it looks like an AR-180, kind of also like a AR-15. The bolt itself is much like an AR-15, but the recoil assembly is AR-180 all day. And that's really cool. It allows it to have a folding stock because the recoil assembly is built into the upper receiver, and it doesn't go past the end of the receiver in recoil, so you can have a folding stock like the MCX has, versus your typical AR buffer tube. Of course, unlike the AR-180, you have a AR-15 like charging handle. Takedown is just like an AR as far as separating the upper and lower. Mine's pretty tight. The front pin is a lower half. It's not 100% AR 15, but it's pretty close. So the trigger group is a little bit different, but not that much. It's very similar to an AR-15. Talking about the grips, like this is a Sig proprietary grip, and I actually really like it, but you could put any AR grip on it that you wanted. The trigger pack, they originally meant for this to accept AR triggers. However, like the MPX, the MCX is really hard on AR-15 standard style triggers, so you'd want to get an MCX specific trigger. Moving back, you have what is really revolutionary about this gun is the stock mounting. So they went with a M1913 Picatinny section on the back of the rifle, and basically makes your stock selection limitless. The older ones came with this, I call it an Instagram stock because it looks cool as hell. Not the greatest stock, but it's still pretty cool. But it does allow you to fold it and whatnot. Pretty simple folding mechanism, and it's pretty solid. As far as the ergonomics, let me go ahead and put this back together. And of course, my front pin is stiff, like I said, but put the charging handle in, much like an AR. Bolt carrier group goes in. Gotta get that little notch in front of the charging handle. And then there we go. All right, so talking about ergonomics, that's where they really did well by using the AR style. So got a standard selector lever, much like an AR. Magazine release, just like an AR. However, your magazine release is ambi on this gun. Bolt release, it's just similar to an AR standard. I wish they'd have done like the MPX and made the bolt release ambi as well, but whatever, it's not that big of a deal. It did come with this factory ambi charging handle, so if you needed to run it that way, you could. So, what do I think about this? Well, it's an awesome gun, but it has its own downfalls. So, mine in particular being an older style, the lightweight barrel wasn't the most accurate. The Fergus and later models are known to be much more accurate in hold accuracy. The grip, while people complain about the handguard being a little thicker, it is, but for me, I really don't mind that because I actually have pretty long fingers, so I don't have a problem reaching over. The stock, not my favorite. It looks cool as hell, but it's it's just a metal, basically wired style stock, so it's not going to be the greatest. 5.56 doesn't recoil a lot, so it's not terrible, but I still prefer another type stock. It does have multiple QD sling attachment points. So you have one up front here. You have the one right at the rear of the receiver, like if you were using a single point, and you have one on the end of the stock. Those are basically ambi. They're same on all 3 points. Not that big of a deal. AR style charging, forward assist. If you want that, take it or leave it. It's never a bad thing, especially if you can't physically charge the weapon. Yeah, you shouldn't be forcing things to go where they don't want to go, but in a pinch, it's never a bad thing to be able to do that. Handling, the gun is very lightweight, especially in this SBR configuration for what it is. Being an 11.5, it does, offer a lot of velocity advantage over, say, a 10.3 Mark 18. But, it's still, this is probably at most a 200-yard gun as far as lethality. Yeah, so what do I think about it? I keep saying that, but it's a very forward-thinking gun. It's a very cool gun. However, because it really hasn't taken off like it probably should have, I think, honestly, in my personal opinion, that Sig has kept the production numbers low to keep the cost high. That's just my speculation, but I think it would have taken off a lot better had they produced more of them. But for quite a while, you haven't been able to hardly find any kind of MCX in the gun store. If you did, it was like a 16-inch 300 blackout, or a 9-inch, or whatever the really short one is, in 5.56. Guns that you really don't want are totally impractical. So, I think that's part of why these really haven't sold as much. They're expensive. They're more expensive than ARs. I got a screaming deal on this one because it is an older style and it was an SBR. SBRs aren't selling a lot right now because, pistol braces are cool. But I got a screaming deal on this, and even with the tax stamp, it was still way cheaper than a pistol would have been. But some of my thoughts. Another thing that I don't really care about is while the recoil system does allow you to have the stock folded, which is cool, those springs on the recoil system being so small and being in such tight channels has been proven by other people like Military Arms Channel and whatnot that they don't do so hot on like adverse conditions, because just a little bit can get in there and gunk the gun up. So, is that realistic to what most people are going to use? No. I mean, for most people, I think this gun is 100% would fill any bill you would need. But when it comes to, if the gun does go down, it's going to go down. And if parts break, try getting parts for this. Not only are replacement parts exponentially more expensive than, say, AR-15 parts, but they are also unobtainium. So, awesome gun. However, this would not be my first choice for a gun to be my one and only if I needed it. Hence why it doesn't even have a light on it right now. It's more of it just been a fun gun. I do plan on doing more with this because I am stuck with it pretty much for life. However, I don't think I will do as much as I probably could with it, just because I can do so much more with an AR pistol or an AK than not worry about, if parts break, I can just replace them. So anyway, just some of my quick thoughts on the MCX. I'll be doing a video comparing this to the AR here shortly. So just remember, the The gun's the tool, you're the weapon. And until next time, I'll be back.